And we're recording.
People coming.
Love it. Awesome. Thank you so much. And so today you are being, or this is being brought to you by Team Triage. I'm going to walk us through the slides today, but I have amazing teammates. Troy and Hans are on the sidelines fielding your chat questions. So I do want to encourage you, as you have questions, please drop those in the chat and they will stop me at certain points in time. I will make sure that we can address those questions. And then like Hans said, we are recording this session as well so that we can shoot that out to anybody who maybe wasn't able to make any of the 3 sessions that we've offered over the last few days. And if you are on Twitter, those are our Twitter handles, but please make sure that if you're not following us, you can share this out that way, but we would like to be following you as well. So find us and let us know where you are so we can follow each other in the Twitterverse. So the purpose of today's meeting really is to make sure that those of you who are at school sites and will be delivering information to your teams have confidence in telling people how to get started with Google Meet. So that is the goal. So if you had a chance to watch Troy's screencast or look through the slides already and you're prepared with questions, that's awesome. If this is your first introduction to it, that's fine as well. Please make sure that you are asking questions and that you feel comfortable moving forward to lead your site through getting started with Google Meet. So one of the things that we're getting a lot of right now is just the question about, is Google Meet replacing Zoom? And the official word still is it's an additional option. We have security issues, a little less security in Zoom, a little more security in Google Meet, especially when we're talking about students. In a Google Meet, only people from our domain are allowed to join that Google Meet, so it does provide an extra added hedge of protection, but it is an additional. The other component is that it is an equity issue as well, as far as our students their Google Suite comes with Google Meet. It is something that they don't have to find an extra app for, they don't have to download it, they don't have to do anything extra. They have access to Google Meet, and so it's just an easier way for students also to be involved in that process of communicating with you and with their classmates and with their teachers online. Before I move on, are there any questions on this? I am unable to see the chat.
We don't have any questions so far.
So one of the nice features is that Google Classroom, if you're already using Google Classroom, you have the ability to turn on a Meet link for each of the classrooms that you have. The next slide actually shows a video, so I'm gonna click here on how to do that. Give it a second. So under the settings, which is that little wheel, when you click on that in your Google Classroom and you scroll down to Meet, you can generate a link. And then that link will display on the front page of the Google Classroom. We're just waiting for it. And there it is. So the nice thing is that code is tied to the classroom. Again, only people within the domain, our domain, PBBUSD, can access the link. So if you happen to share it out with a colleague to do a team meeting and someone else got a hold of it, even we tried sharing it out via email, you have to be in our domain to get a hold of, or to be able to get into the meeting. However, another extra added layer of security is to give your meets a nickname, which is definitely an option. And then I see even on the notes in the bottom of the slide there, underlined in bold, the teacher should always be the last one to leave the meeting, just to make sure that students aren't hanging out and continuing the discussion. And I'm going to stop and pause here for any questions.
No questions so far in the chat. Nope.
Awesome. So there are multiple ways that we can create a Google Meet. One was from Classroom. We can create them directly from our calendars. So as we have been creating calendar events, in that little box that says add rooms, locations, or conferencing, you can add your Google Meet as a conference option. And then you can add the email addresses of the people that you're inviting to the meeting. So if I'm meeting with my PLC group or my site staff, I could drop that email list in there and it would send a link to their calendar. It would put it in their calendar and it would contain the Google Meet link as well. I can also just go straight to Google Meet, meet.google.com, and just create an actual meeting. When you do it this way, I would definitely suggest giving the meeting a nickname. Again, adding that extra layer of security before you then copy the link and send it on to the people that you're inviting to your Meet. And Meet does have the option to download an app. So one of the questions I've been getting a lot of with the student Chromebooks is the fact that the camera is disabled. And I do want to clarify that students are still able to participate in the meetings, even though the camera that's pointed at their face is not enabled. So they're able to see their teacher, they're able to hear what's going on in the classroom, and they're able to speak and have others hear them. It's just that the other students cannot see them. If they want to participate where students can see them, then they would have to be on a non-district issued device, which is where the app might come in handy if someone wanted to participate from their phone so that they could participate in the video functionality. And I covered that. This slide shows you the basic settings and features of what the Google Meet screen looks like if you haven't had an opportunity to practice with it. Right here where it says team meeting, it actually gives you that's where you can click and get the link and the details of the meeting to share if you need to send them off last minute. You have the microphone so that you can mute yourself. You have the ability to leave the meeting, the red telephone there. You have the ability to turn your camera on and off, present your screen. And again, you can it works a lot like Zoom in the sense that you can see people and you can have the chat here as well. If you were going to record, and you'll see this in, I believe, the next couple slides, these three dots right here give you multiple options on the layout of your screen. So if you would like to see it in a different format, you can kind of change the layout to what works for you. And you have the ability to record until September 30th when that free function disappears. But as right now, you have the ability to record your Google Meets. And I'll just say to that, on a side note, as Hans did when we started recording this, best practice is to always let people know that you are recording them and give them the option to opt out before you record them. Let's see. We have provided you with a YouTube video on how to record your Google Meet session. So if I was a teacher and I knew I had students that weren't able to participate, I could record my sessions and then I could allow the students to watch them later. That would go for a staff meeting as well. And then these are the directions for stopping and starting a recording. Again, the three dots over here give you your options, and that's where you would click record the meeting. And you would click those three dots again, and that would say stop record if you were going to stop recording the meeting. And then it will put the recording into your drive. It'll create a folder that says Meet Recordings, and it'll drop that video into your drive. And from there, you can share it out with whomever it is that needs to see it, or you can download it. That was a lot of information, so I'm gonna stop there. How are we doing on questions?
Some of the questions that we've had that I'll just kind of go through real quick and clarify. So just to be clear, students who are using a district provided Chromebook will not be able to show their face. People won't be able to see them. They will have to be on a cell phone or their own laptop or tablet for that to work. For creating the Google Meet link in Classroom, that's creating the link, but scheduling that can be done through Calendar or Gmail. So if you just wanted to send a Gmail with the link to your students, letting them know this is going to be the time for the meeting, that would be a way to schedule that. And then do we have to invite students individually, or can we invite the whole classroom? That's what that link provides. You make that viewable. You just toggle that little option, and it makes it so when the students come to classroom, they will be able to see that link automatically. Hans, did you have something?
Yes. So also, if you create this Google Meet in your Google Calendar in an event, and you're typing in the guests for that event, you can type in the name of that classroom, and that will have a like Google group code email that will email all of those students, because it's been that their information has been gathered in that classroom. So.
And that's all the questions so far.
Perfect. Okay, let's see. What else do we have in here? So the next real piece is that we think about best practices and protocols for our meetings. Obviously, I can tell that you guys have been doing this for a while. Most of you jumped in, you muted yourself. For the sake of streaming and the amount of people on the call, many of you went ahead and turned off your video. So there's a lot of those components that make the online meetings work better. And so we've offered you some slides and some images on protocols that just help make life a little easier when we're dealing with virtual meetings. So thank you to Carly Mora and Matt Miller for creating these images that we could use. But you definitely want to encourage, especially teachers, to think through what are their protocols going to be when they have these online meetings, and that they communicate those with students. How are the students supposed to ask questions? When can they raise their hand? All of those kinds of things. And there are some images here. They could take these and use these as well. And we also provided you with just different ways you could use this idea of a video call feature. So here are 9 different ways that you could possibly use Google Meet as we do this whole distance learning thing: virtual field trips, escape rooms. I mean, the sky is really the limit. I mean, ultimately, a teacher could even use Meet just to record themselves giving a lesson and sharing their screen, and then play it back later. So even if they weren't on a call with their entire classroom, that's definitely one way that they could use the system. And then this is really fun. We found this week, and we played with it as a team as well. Being able to use your phone, whether it's an iPhone or an Android, doesn't matter, but being able to use your phone as a dock camera. And the basic gist is that you would start the meeting on your device, laptop or PC, whatever it is, and then you would join the call from your phone, but you need to make sure the sound on your phone is off, or you'll get a lot of interference and feedback with the microphones. But then you can choose to display the screen from the phone, and right underneath it, as you can kind of see, those soup cans are holding up the phone, and you can share that screen with your students or with your staff. And so you can use your cell phone as a document camera. It's just a small little hack there for you. And then these are links to some resources that we also pulled from this presentation today. And I think we also provided 2 more resources. This is a detailed video on how to use Google Meet. And then I like to say he's my friend because he's Hans's friend, and I know Hans, so I just live vicariously through Hans. But Coach Ben creates a lot of great resources, and he's in this video is showing how he's going to use Google Meet with his kindergartners, and he uses his family to demonstrate that. So just another resource is sometimes we think about the tech tools only being for the older students, and just ways we can integrate those with our youngest students as well. And if you guys have any questions, that's what we're here for. So that's really kind of the gist and the bulk of our presentation. It's a great time to ask questions. Let me pull up my grid view so I can see most of you. How about a thumbs up? Give me a thumbs up if you feel like you could go out tomorrow and teach your site or facilitate your site in how to use Google Meet. I see some of you using the actual thumbs up feature. Some of you turn it on your phone. Looking pretty good. So I definitely want to answer some more questions, but I do want to emphasize that we are here for you. And I say we are a team, Troy, Hans, and myself. So if you would like a one-on-one tutorial, if you would like us to jump in and support you, please reach out. We're willing to do whatever it takes.
So we do have one question. Will the pre-recordings that we create now disappear after the subscription is up in September? That's a no. Those will not disappear. Those are yours. Once you've made those and downloaded, saved them in your drive, they are your recordings. Explain how to use the phone as a dock camera again.
No worries. So you can call in to a phone. I can do it from my device, or I can do it from my actual phone, or I can do it from both. And so I would start as I have my meeting on my laptop, and then I would also go in and join the meeting from my phone. I have to turn my camera around. Usually when I join the meeting from my phone, it's facing me. So I have to make sure that the camera is facing the bottom. And then you're gonna have to create, they had soup cans. There's several tutorials on YouTube on different ways you can have a setup so that your phone is suspended in the air. But as the host, I would then have to share the screen for this phone. And I would be able to write underneath, and essentially this becomes a camera, like a dock cam. Troy or Hans, do you have a better way of explaining that?
Yeah, that's about it. And if you guys, Shelley, could you go back on your slides to that slide on the DIY camera? Because there's two resources there. One is a Twitter post from the lady who created the graphic on the left, but then she has a follow-up how-to slides on the right side, and she gives you kind of step-by-step what materials you need and how to set that up. So I would definitely look at that, try it out. And did we come up with this idea? No, we got it from the Twitterverse. So if you're not in the Twitterverse, people, Twittervention time. You reach out to one of us, and we'll help you get set up so you can have access to the source.
Hey, do we have any other questions? I'm sharing my screen now. What do you recommend for pacing? What frequency should we attempt to utilize video conferencing with students? Claudio, great question. Oh, Troy or Hans, do you guys want to speak to that?
Well, one thing that I had heard was there was one school site, one of the junior highs, I believe, that had come up with office hours for the different content teams throughout the week, so that way they didn't have any video conferencing or like Google Classroom time where the teacher would be answering questions that would overlap. So that way students could get, certain days specific help with history during these times, other times of the week specific help with ELA. So that might be a thing where you need, as you train your team on Google Meet, working out a schedule as a site as to when certain teams or grade levels will host those meetings, so that way the students can get the help that they need without worrying about missing another meeting. But definitely I would make sure that you take the time to train your staff on Google Meet and that everybody's comfortable, because just like everything else, they're going to have to walk their students through it, so their students know how to use it and how to be respectful of it. So yeah, Hans.
And to add on to that, so there's kind of steps to distance learning, and step number one is just making that contact, even if it's by the telephone, and then you kind of build up from there. once you have your kids on Google Classroom, that's the time that you would take that next step to get to Google Hangout. And I would start with the students that are most active on Google Classroom. Just say, hey guys, what are you guys thinking about meeting for a video chat? And try it with them. Set up those classroom procedures in the beginning. Coach Ben's video is great. He's very, like, it's not just a free for all. He's training them how to mute and unmute themselves, just like adults have to do for professional conferences. So that's what I would recommend. Start with your kids that are already active and you've made contact with. Start small and then invite some more, and hopefully the word will spread.
Those are great. I would only add that all of your classrooms are unique and all of the needs of your students are unique. And so some of you are going to be able to jump in and potentially hold a video conference with your students every day. And there are going to be others of you where your students just don't have that kind of access. And you're not going to be able to do that. And that's okay too. We know that your needs and what you are working towards, you're all in a different place, and so are your students. And so our goal is just to help you take that next step, whatever that looks like. And Google Meet is just a tool that we have in order to help you take that next step. So the only expectation is that you reach out and connect with your students. There's not necessarily an expectation that it has to be done by video or a certain amount of times per week. Are there any other questions? Feel free to unmute your mic and ask the question.
So I had one that was asked. I kind of answered it, but just to make sure everybody knows, the presentation itself, the link was reshared so if you scroll to the top of the chat, you can see that shared link for the Google Meet presentation that we walked through. That's going to remain shared with you along with all of the attached links, PDFs, videos that are in that presentation. So you don't need to recreate the wheel when you're training your PLC teams or your site as a whole. All these resources are available to you. And like Shelly said, the three of us are available if you need support when you're doing that training in any way. Feel free to reach out to us. We are more than happy to jump in and lend a hand. So whatever you need, we're here for you.
And we had someone ask the name of the kindergarten teacher who had the how-to for kinders on Google Meet, and his name is Ben Cogswell, or Coach Ben, on Twitter. So and then someone else asked, Christy, you asked, if students see the link on Google Classroom and click on it, can they get into the Meet without me? The answer is no, and we experimented with that yesterday to make sure. You are the one who activates that link by opening that Google Meet link in your classroom. You just want to make sure that all of your students leave before you leave that Meet. Because if you leave it before all the students leave, then there could be a few in there, without teacher supervision. So you starting it will activate it. You leaving will disactivate it if all the students are out. These are great questions. Before we leave, would it be okay if everyone turns on their camera and we're going to take a quick picture of this amazing group, because you guys are awesome. Some of you dressed up for the occasion like me. Didn't dress up. Oh, look at those beautiful faces. Get ready. 3, 2, 1, and smile. And let's do one for the second page. 3, 2, 1, and smile. Cool. Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
So we will be hanging out for a few minutes. If you have any other questions, feel free to stick around. We will be here to answer those, and the chat will be open for a little while longer as well. Thank you guys for joining us today, and we hope you have a great weekend.
And Kirsty, to answer your question, yeah, when you jump into the meeting as the teacher, that's you kind of activating that, and then the students would be able to jump in with you.
So there,
if you-
so the just to ask, so there is no waiting room, right? Like they have on Zoom where the kids can go before and then you accept them. As soon as you start the meeting, then they'll have access to the meeting? Okay.
That's correct. And yesterday when we were training the coaches, someone had a great idea of actually starting a Google Meet to kind of play with it. So if that happens randomly, someone can start one on the side and drop in the link here. And then whoever wants to go in to check it out to see what the controls are like and to press buttons, feel free to do that if you want. That's optional if you want to play with it. But yeah, you'd go to meets.google.com and do that. You're welcome, Christy. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Mrs. Lopez. Good to see you, Miss Chaudhry.
It's so good to see your
Someone-
faces.
And Amy's asking, can you have someone leave the meeting if needed? Yes. So under the people, there's 3 dots. You click on those. You can mute individuals or you can kick them out, which is a helpful thing to have. You're welcome, Irma. You're welcome, Kalina. You're welcome, Amy. The kebab. Thanks,
kebab.
Andy.
The kebab. Yes, the kebab.
That is correct.
Bye-bye.
Only food items for button. Jojo wants to leave. He wants me to leave my meetings all day long.
Oh, day one, yeah.
He's so cute.
Oh, Jojo.
Hands down, Hans, one of the best parts of having you in Zoom meetings with JoJo is
Yes.
his commentary is perfect.
He says what all of us feel sometimes. It's like, bye-bye. You're welcome, Megan. You're welcome, Monica. Glad you got to come. Sarah,
Thanks, Denise.
Guys.
Janelle. Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, Claudio.
Hi, Troy. Miss your smiling face.
Hey, Janelle, how are you doing?
Yeah, you guys can unmute
I'm
yourselves
okay.
if you want.
Unmute yourselves.
I'm glad. Oh.
Oh, he is the most precious little guy.
Hey, Valerie. Glad you got to stop by. Yes, we've recorded this. Oh, and it's still recording. I'm going to turn that off
It is.
so we can start cursing. Just kidding. Distance cursing.